Today, we're going to pull up the next-gen stat charts and look at the trends from Week 10 at the running back position. We're going to look at some deeper running backs today, as we got some running backs that surprised us. On top of that, our trending stars who did some things on the field. We're going to look at where they carried the football at. We're going to look at the advanced metrics. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. Tomorrow, we're going deep on the waiver wire. Wednesday, we're going deep on the waiver wire. We're doing deep dives on those trending players who's climbing up the waiver wire, climbing up depth charts, falling down depth charts. And on top of that, we're using these videos to help you set your lineups. Click that subscribe button right now. Stop missing out. Ric Flair's watching. You do not want to disappoint Ric Flair. We're going to start off with Chuba Hubbard. And he's been a star. 153 yards and a touchdown. Panthers get the win here. They're now 3-7. We're running it to the outside. We're running it up the gut. We have been very consistent. He is going to be the dude. And the Panthers have a good playoff schedule for the back nine of the season. Jonathan Brooks will be in the offense here soon. It's more Jonathan Brooks versus Miles Sanders. Chuba Hubbard's not getting touched. It's Jonathan Brooks versus Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders, I want to see advanced data on him because Miles Sanders, he's been running about 11 to 12 routes per game. He's been seeing a considerable amount of snaps. And the fact is, Miles Sanders is a decent meat shield for Chuba Hubbard, keeping him fresh for the back end of the season. I don't see him slowing down. He's not getting ran to death. In this game, he got a lot. But that's allowing them to give him a lot when they need to give him a lot instead of just forcing it on him in a lot of matchups. I think this is going to allow him to be fresh for the rest of the season. I think Miles Sanders versus Jonathan Brooks is going to be an interesting dichotomy. I think if you get a better running back with Miles Sanders' workload, you might have something there. I think the Panthers is going to be a team to watch in the offseason to see what they're going to do. I'm not expecting them to be Super Bowl contenders, but if Jonathan Brooks hits alongside Chuba Hubbard and you get a two-headed monster in 2025, that is going to be very fun to watch. And on top of that, Chuba Hubbard is going to be a league winner down the stretch. We keep this up. We got a good set of matchups in the fantasy playoffs. Considering he was like a 14th round pick, 12th round pick in a lot of leagues, he was an easy pickup. I know a lot of people drafted Jonathan Brooks like round 10, but he was an easy pickup still because he's one of the few running backs forecasted to get a lot of work in the start of the season. He was an easy get, and now we're looking at him being a home run threat for the rest of the fantasy football schedule. Tyrone Tracy got it done. 103 yards, 1 touchdown. This was a great matchup. Running back score points against the Panthers. That's what he's doing. And if you look at the chart up top here, he's up and down with production. It makes sense because the Giants is just an up and down team. That makes sense. And he's getting a lot of workload here. He's getting used a little bit in the passing game. The thing about this, former wide receiver should be getting more reps in the passing game. You would think that, but why not just chuck the ball to Malik Neighbors all the time and let it rip? But Tyrone Tracy, we're getting it up the gut, and we're a threat to house it on any given play. We got that speed. We also got the size to pound it up the gut. We got good vision. I went over that on some film analysis on Twitter and over at dynastyleaguefootball.com. He's got good instincts. He's got patience. He's got vision. Just reads momentum very well. This is a very good running back. Audric Estime is a trending running back right now. He's got some upside in this offense because he's a good pounder. He was very productive at Notre Dame. Javonte Williams didn't get much work. We might see a change going forward with them. The Broncos are 5-5. So if that record gets to the point where they're not making the playoffs, you might see more Audric Estime. You might see them testing him out, even with Javonte Williams healthy. You might see that because they want to see what this offense will look like for 2025 with the rookie quarterback. Audric Estime, they liked him in training camp. He looked good in training camp. He's a good pounder. He's got good vision. He's got good wiggle for the size. He did not do well at the combine. He's not a home run threat with speed, but he's a running back that can carry the load. And then we got a deep running back class this year. So if you find another gem late in the draft, which is very possible in 2025, and get another fast complementary back with him, you can have a good backfield here on the cheap going into 2025 for the Denver Broncos. And they're trending in the right direction because they hit on Bo Nix. Bo Nix competed with the Chiefs here, one of the toughest defenses in the league. Was not a detriment to the team. Looked good. Looked okay. had over 200 yards passing, which was more than a lot of quarterbacks on week 10. It's not great, especially when you look at 2023 and prior to this year. It's not great. This year it's like, okay. But Audric, Estime, we're getting some run up the gut. Can this trend continue? It might if they start losing a few more games. Christian McCaffrey's back. And the one thing I want to hit on, he was only started in 84% of games. And I also saw some people saying, hey, don't start him because he's coming back from injury. I saw that on Twitter. And like I said with Puka Nacua, it's the same thing because it's processed with me. When it comes to this situation, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to look into this situation as if I don't know. And then from that, I'm going to put the pieces together. If I saw him practice a lot, then I'm going to put the pieces from that. If I saw this, I saw that. The pieces were pretty good, Christian McCaffrey. You know, they weren't going to run him out as a decoy. Maybe there is a chance for re-injury, but that's with anybody. I think he was good for the start. I mean, if you wanted to, it's on you to bench him. That's probably what I would have said. It's on you, but I think I feel pretty good. I think I'll say that with just about every star that comes back from injury, though. If you feel good, start him, especially against jabroni players. If you got studs with them, then maybe that's a different story, but that's not really the case with most people. But Christian McCaffrey, you're starting him. More than likely, you're starting him. But he did get benched. 15% of people on Sleeper, probably a little bit more on ESPN. Some people did bench him, and some people were calling for him. But the thing is, with this process, you want to come in like, I don't know. I don't know, and I'm going to put the pieces together from the reports, the practices, and look at what I already got. It's never point blank black and white with football. That's just how the game is. Football's not a black and white game. It's shades of gray. It's random. You got to talk in random. You got to look at probabilities. You got to talk in probabilities, and sometimes people don't like that because they want to be told what to do. But I talk in probabilities, and I kind of just guide you to where your heart wants to lead with these players. Christian McCaffrey's good. He's good. We got 7 targets, 6 balls caught. We're solid out there. We're slow in the run game. It's against the Bucks. More of a pass funnel in this matchup. Niners got it done. Christian McCaffrey's back. Trey Benson is starting to ramp up a little bit. He's got that 4.3 speed. He's a home run hitter. James Conner was a monster. He's not taking his job, but if something happens to James Conner, it's him and Damari Mercado. And he's starting to ramp up a little bit, starting to get more touches in the back nine of the season. However, they were up in this game, and they could afford to do this. So this is more of a game script dependent thing they did here. And on top of that, if it becomes a game script dependent thing, then we know what they're going to be doing with Trey Benson. They're going to be giving him some looks. So you may want to look at that when we get deeper into the season, when there's probably going to be some more injuries. We went this far into the season. We had a lot of injuries, but at the running back position, at some other positions, it hit a lot at some other positions. But there's some positions the injury bug did not bite. The running back position has been very tame this year. We might see like an apocalypse of running backs going into the fantasy playoffs. You may want to have a back like this or 2 stashed going into the fantasy playoffs. That's one thing you may want to look at. Alvin Kamara is getting all the work in this offense. Everybody's hurt. That's not a surprise. That's something you want in fantasy football. He was a mid-round pick for some reason in fantasy football, mainly due to the age, but he's been holding it down with some upside as an RB2 or a grandiose upside play. Alvin Kamara is getting it done. He's getting it to the outside. He's getting it up the gut. He's got 6 targets in this game. Alvin Kamara is solid. Bucky, Irving. And I get questions about Bucky, Irving, or Rachaad White. Who do I start? And like I say, it's always a coin flip with the two. They're getting about the same amount of touches. They're all similar touches. They're both getting work in the pass game. Sometimes they're both on the field at the same time. And football is football. And at that point, it's just a coin flip and gamble. They're both electric in passing game. They're both electric in space. They're both good between the tackles. Bucky Irvin's better between the tackles, but I don't think it matters when it comes to fantasy because the money touches and the outside, catch the ball in the backfield, the goal line looks is also going to Rachaad White. It's a coin flip between the two. Bucky Irving hit again. He's been up and down. He's been a good RB2 this year. He's been a good RB2 this season with good RB1 spike weeks. Well, 1, 2 technically this week. So looking at that, we're getting good production from him. He's getting sprayed all over the field with his carries, which is good for him because he can create space when there's a tackler in front of him. He's very shifty, one of the shiftiest running backs in the National Football League. A very good talent. Tyjae Spears back. And depending on how hurting you are, you may be looking at this. Because if you're getting 7 carries and a few targets, that's something you may want. If it's something you don't want, then you don't need him. That's the type of prospect you don't want to look at. However, week 3 and week 4, we got a little bit of something. Not a lot. But that's something you might be looking at in the back end of the season as we ramp up with him. And Tony Pollard's been banged up. And they mentioned they want to lighten the load on Pollard a little bit. And maybe that means 5-10% of the carries go more to Tyjae Spears. And that allows them to get you to 10-11 points a game. They're doing good running the ball. Tony Pollard's good. He's holding him back. But still, if you need it, you know. You know. If you don't need it, you know. Aaron Jones went out in this game and came back in. And during that injury, it looked like when he got carted off, that there was a chance that he could have been out for a bit. And that could still be the case. More than likely not. I'm seeing him being back on the field. But a lot of times when I say that, that's wrong too. So, Aaron Jones, you want to watch him. Cam Akers is next in line, it looks like, when it comes to the touches. He's probably going to hit on you in fantasy probably once out of every 3 games. That's going to be hard for you. But again, like I said prior, you know when you need a back like that. That's an up and down back. You know now. You know what that looks like. You know what that feels like. Remember that for next year. If you want the touches, when I say, if you just want the touches, that's what I'm talking about. Those running backs that hit every other game, once every 3 games. You're just chasing those touches and you're just praying that he falls in the end zone or catches a couple balls and skirts away for a few extra yards. Aaron Jones is that man. He's been productive all year. A great mid-round pick. If you went wide receiver, and got Alvin, Kamara, and Aaron Jones, you're sitting pretty this year. You're looking good. Joe Mixon has been hitting, and he has been on a tear, and he's continuing with that tear. 25 carries in this game. Over 20 carries in his last 5 matchups, getting the ball all over the place, being used in the passing game. And this was a fun game to watch. Joe Mixon is on a historic tear right now, and he looks like to be a league winner unless something happens to him health-wise. Kareem Hunt has been on a tear as well. He's been slowing down in the running game. However, we're getting it done in the passing game, especially in this matchup here against the Broncos. You've got to be creative against the Broncos. And Kareem Hunt, these last few weeks, starting to tear it up in the back end of games. Slowing down defenses, gassing them out, and he's been on a good run here. A good run to finish off the career. Kareem Hunt, we're tipping the cap to you. Catching the balls out of the backfield this one. Stepping up, getting the job done. When the team needed you, team had to be creative. And there's not going to be many games where they're going to have to target him 10 times. They're going to get him the ball in other ways. But still, tip the cap. We got the Bills coming up. Should be another advantageous situation for Kareem Hunt in Week 11. Travis Etienne's back, and we might start getting fantasy production out of him in the next few weeks as we ramp up from the injury. It's been slow right now, and the Jaguars have been very dicey. They've been very dicey. Play calling, quarterback play, moving the ball, being consistent. That might hamper him. We're going to have to pay attention to him, but you might get some RB2 weeks out of him. You drafted him to be an RB1, but you're just going to settle with potential RB2 weeks, and it's going to be hard to start him. So he might go off on your bench a few weeks before you start thinking about starting him, but you may want to just play around with it too. If I got a team that made it to the dance without him, then you might not even be looking his way too much until he starts doing something or he's in the right matchup. We got a bye week coming up in week 12. That might freshen up these running backs a little bit and allow him to get back up to speed for the back 9 of the season. Something to pay attention to. We're getting runs up the gut. We're getting some work. We got 1 target in this matchup. Again, not enough work in the passing game for him to be fantasy relevant. But still, this is a running back to pay attention to. We might get back to the production we saw in the start of the season, maybe after the bye week. But also watch that Detroit game. I'm not saying he's a recommended start. It's only Monday right now. But something to pay attention to as you're looking at these running backs coming up for Week 11. But those are the running backs from Week 10, the trends, the start, sits, buy, sells, holds, kick to the moon, and everything else. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.